doing? I just wanted to do a quick video, and hopefully this finds you all well. I mean, it's 14 minutes past 12. I've actually just come back from training, so I'm probably sure that's madness for some of you, but I wanted to make sure that my very last training session prior to a lockdown was well worth it. So I made every minute count. But what I wanted to do is a quick video to basically explain to you my view on the lockdown. Myself, I'm not happy about having to do it, as I'm sure all of you are not happy as well. I obviously went through all the trials and tribulations of the last lockdown and how that affected me and my body and everything of that nature. But I've come to realise a few salient points that I think is really important that I pass on. Back to the last lockdown, I was actually going through a phase of dieting, well, predominantly dieting. And as a result of that, the lockdown actually allowed me that focus, that undivided attention on that diet. Now, I think there's probably a few of you out there that are going to be in a similar situation. Yes, of course, life has to happen. But what it does do for you is permit you the opportunity to dedicate more time, more effort, and more of your headspace to your goal. Because you're going to dedicate yourself and apply yourself more effectively to your plan. So that's a massive positive that can come from it. I mean, that's how it worked for me. And if I'm honest with you, holding my hands in the air, I don't think I probably would have lost the sheer amount of weight that I would have done had I not been in the lockdown situation. Obviously, training is a big thing for people. Now, I was quite fortunate. I managed to purchase some gym equipment as such. It was sort of most. Some people are, relying on a couple of dumbbells and some bands, and other people are looking on just body weight exercises. I know a lot of people, once they are starved of the opportunity to go to the gym, their routine breaks down. As a result of that, their diet breaks down, their rest regime breaks down because they're not ultimately training, so they don't, see the need to rest. And before you know it, it's all spiraled out of control. And as a direct result of that, once it's gone as far as it's gone, you then give up. Now, if your diet is effectively unchanged, or still very good and very well balanced, if your activity level is still high, i.e. you're going for walks, you're doing your cardio, and everything else is in situ, even without training, you are not going to just suddenly drop all of your gains. You're not going to suddenly gain a load of weight. You're not going to suddenly, lose all your muscle. It doesn't happen as fast as you would think. So, and the bit I wanted to come on to was the bit that applies to me the most. So, in the last lockdown, I was actually going through a dieting phase. So I'd say that probably the lockdown situation, me having less weight, doing more cardio, having smaller meals, etc., probably lent itself more readily to actually dieting. But what happens if you're in a position like I am now, where I'm bulking? So there's going to be a few of you watching this in exactly the same situation. So in doing so, I'm obviously using more food. I'm going through more food. As a result of that, I'm allowing my body the ability to grow. In growing, obviously, I want to subject myself to a high level of stress in the gym. And the easiest way to do that is to, throw more weight around. So, I'm using certain movements, certain quantities of weight that I'm certainly not going to be able to use here at home. So what I wanted to go over is just a couple of key things that I think will really help people, and things that I'm going to apply in my next 4 weeks to hopefully minimise any muscular losses, or indeed actually take certain body parts and allow them to grow a bit further. So for any of you that are familiar with some of the bodybuilding greats like Dorian Yates or Lee Haney, they both are very strict on the fact that the body needs to be subjected to a level of stress to grow, because in growing, it's trying to overcome that stress to make that stress less impacting on the body. It's only once you then become comfortable with that stress, then you have to up the ante again. It's all about finding a new level of stress to subject to the body. Lee Haney also very eloquently put that The body doesn't understand weight. It only understands the stress that it's being put under. For example, if I was to go straight to squatting and I was fresh, I was stretched, I was ready, I might be able to squat 200 kilos, for argument's sake, 200 kilos for 10 reps. That subjects the body to an amount of stress. If I did squatting at the end of my workout, having done my leg extensions, having done my hamstring curls, having done walking lunges, leg press, or any and all of them, by the time I get to the squatting, the chances of me being able to do 200 kilos for 10 reps is probably slim to nothing. But the weight that I am going to subject my body to, do you think it's any less effective than the 200 kilos that's going to subject myself to initially? No, because ultimately I'm pushing my body to as hard as it will go at that given period. So my body is going to have exhausted muscles. So it's called pre-exhaustion. In pre-exhausting the muscle, you then basically force your body to work at its maximum rate at that period of time. So really all you're trying to do is work at the maximum rate. The maximum rate is determined by a fatigue. So the point that I'm getting at is that there'll be certain movements, whether it be for legs, chest, arms, back, anything like that, that actually will command you to use a smaller amount of weight. So in doing so, you can do these exercises, use a small amount of weight that you may have at home, or do a circuit of training to pre-exhaust the muscle, so that by the time you get to an exercise that otherwise you would have had a lot more weight on a bar, machine, or something of that nature, you actually don't need as much weight. So yeah, I think it's important that, despite the fact that most people, are reaching out to their coaches and people in the know to try and overcome what they believe to be the negative outcomes of this lockdown and the gym shutting and that sort of situation, I think it's important you actually focus on the benefits that can come from it as well. And I promise you, I'm not one of those sickly sweet people that, always put a positive spin on life. I'm not one of those people. But I do try to find a positive, turn where possible. And one of the positive, things that I can remark is the same situation I found myself in last lockdown. I didn't have a great deal going on. Well, you couldn't do because we were sort of, in isolation. And I managed to find that place, mindset-wise, where I could literally just dedicate myself to a goal. Every morning I woke up, I had a plan, I stuck to that plan, I completed, all my markers, I did my cardio, I had my food on time, I trained, got to the end of the day, right, I ticked that one off. And that was 3 months that I was previously in lockdown. This is a month, we hope. But when you think about it and you actually start breaking it down, I'm only training 4 days a week. So that's 4 days a week over 4 weeks. It's 16 sessions. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it? And that's because it's not. So if you think that, you're going to lose all of your gains, you're going to gain all your fat, you're going to, you're going to reverse any progress you've made, absolutely not. Provided you keep as many of your markers in line as possible. And that's the most important point, because your markers are going to be your activity level, including your cardio. It's going to be your diet. It's going to be your training, and it's going to be a mindset. And that is the most important one. You can have the best genetics in the world. You could be eating all the right foods. You could train like an absolute animal. But if you do not have the mindset, that goal-driven mindset to wake up in the morning and to go get it, to make sure that the last 2% is fulfilled, to make sure that that last rep is completed, to do the cardio when you don't want to take the last mouthful and think, I won't just leave that in the pot. That's the difference between winning and losing. And I don't want to sound one of those really corny motivational speeches, but it is, because there's going to be someone out there similar to you, and this is more on a competition standpoint, there's going to be someone out there doing something that you're not. I understand the mental aspect of it. The mental aspect, I believe, is actually worse than the physical, because someone could tell me, and I know this in my heart of hearts, that muscle doesn't just dissolve. It depletes over time, but we're talking time, like months and months and months, not 4 weeks, provided you maintain activity, provided you stay active, provided you eat the right foods, provided you do some form of training regime. But as soon as that first day comes where you're not allowed to go to the gym because someone else says so, and it's not on your terms, you feel like you're shrinking. This is unfortunately it's the mental game of the gym, whether it's bigorexia, whether it's muscle dysmorphia, whether it's a lack of confidence in your body image. There's a lot of titles you can throw at it, but it's when it's not on your terms. That's what gets me at least. But if your coach respectfully said to you, right, take 2 weeks off, rest up. I don't want you to do any training. I want you to just stay active, stay eating. Because it was part of your structured plan, you would do it. And you would be grateful for it. You'd see the results for it. And you'd think, that was fantastic. You would not question the 2 weeks. You wouldn't at all. I certainly wouldn't. And I'm the worst for it. But if someone said to me, you can't train for 2 weeks because I said so, that's not enough. That's not enough. I want to train. I want to go and progress and move forward. But if it's for your benefit, and your coach turned around and said, right, we're going to have a strategic 2 week break, and that's with the gyms open, you would just do it, and you would benefit from it. So I think the thing is, it's about being as comfortable with the situation as you can be. So if you've enjoyed this video, or indeed my first video, and you're actually quite keen to see me progress through our goal of trying to get me on a pro stage, then I'd very much appreciate it if you could subscribe, like, actually comment as well. I'd be very keen to get some feedback, and any questions I'd be happy to answer. But equally, it helps with the algorithms of YouTube. So the more people we can get these videos out to, the easier it will be for us to continue making them. So thank you very much.